Wife, 31-year-old, and I, 33-year-old, have known each other for 8 years, married for 6. First of all, thank you for taking the time to read this, but also, please bear with me as I haven't slept properly in the last few days and my head's been spinning around like crazy. My wife went on this work trip abroad with a few coworkers. First couple of days, they were all staying at a hotel, and even though she had very busy days, she always FaceTimed me at the end of the day. Everything seemed fine. On the third day, 2 days ago, they moved to a different location to work on a big project with other local coworkers. The day was stressful, so she didn't write me much throughout the day. She writes me 4 hours later, at around 11 p.m., their time, saying that she's going to the sauna with her female friend she's supposedly sharing a room with. Let's call her V. She's from abroad. The sauna is in this compound where they're staying at, and it's something common to do in the country. Except it's quite late for that, given the long day they had. She then writes me 2.5 hours later, at 1:30 a.m. saying, "I'm going to sleep. Write you when I get up. Love you." And I write her back. No mention of being tired, no mention of not being able to do a call, no mention of what she had been doing for the last 2.5 hours. I'm not controlling, it's just something she always communicates. It felt really distant, cold, and out of character. And I got this really bad gut feeling. My gut feelings are usually right, and I don't disregard them. For reasons I'll explain further down, I had a bad feeling about the whole trip. But nothing that really tingled my spidey senses until now. So I had to find out what was up. She left her laptop at home, which syncs messages, so I could see things happen in real time. She had a message thread with this guy, let's call him K. Last message she sent him was at the same time she wrote me last, and it was a single emoji, a heart with a band-aid. I'd never even seen that emoji before and have no clue what it means. I left the laptop open while I was getting ready for bed, and holy F, I see a message from my wife saying, "Come to room 3. At this point, my heart is racing like crazy. I'm shouting, I'm crying, I'm devastated because even though I had a bad feeling, my wife was the last person on earth I ever thought would do something like this. I've had a prior relationship where I was cheated on a couple of times, and I learned to recognize the type. My wife was the complete opposite, or she's just excelling at hiding it. So I'm running through all these scenarios in my head. Maybe room 3 is something else, and they're going to party with other people a bit more. But why write only K? Maybe he's going through some stuff and he needs to talk? Maybe she's asking K to come to her room for V, the roommate. But why didn't V write K in the first place? What would K do with V with my wife in the room anyway? Barring any kinky stuff. Is my wife even staying at the same room as V? She told me a week before she left she was, but they could have switched? While my mind is still racing, I see that K's message hasn't been delivered. Maybe he doesn't have battery. 1 hour later, K writes, "Going there." The message stays unread, so I'm thinking maybe she's asleep and he'll knock on the door and go back and write her back. But the message stays unread for the next 7 hours, during which I force myself to stay awake because it's the only way I can see anything happen. And then, in real time, I see the whole thread get deleted. At this point, the few legitimate scenarios I was holding in my head completely vanish. 1 hour later, my wife writes another coworker saying she has K's phone and to let him know. K and my wife don't write each other the whole day. Now, the reason why I had a bad feeling the whole trip was because a couple weeks earlier, my wife, a friend, and I went out for drinks and met her coworkers. I had met a few of them prior, but not K. I heard of K in passing, and I don't think she even works directly with him, which made sense as to why I would always hear much more about the other coworkers. We go to this bar, we're dancing, K is holding something in his hand, which my wife takes from him and puts in her pocket in a teasing way. And that's when I had my first gut feeling. She's acting very differently towards this coworker versus everyone else. We all go outside, I'm talking to someone else, and she's talking to K. She's very close. She touches his arm for 2 seconds too long. A couple of minutes later, they hug. I'm pissed because this whole week she has been overworked, going out with her coworkers, and showing little affection towards me, but she's doing it towards this guy. We go home, I say exactly that, and then I'm going to sleep on the sofa. She blows things out of proportion. "How do you dare?" Packs things in a backpack and says she's going to a hotel. It's too late. No hotel will check her in, so I say, "Go ahead." She leaves, but I don't hear the door downstairs close. She left her iPad at home, where she's logged into Instagram. Not proud of it once again, but I had to see what's up. I see a thread with her making some plans for a drink with this other guy she hasn't seen in years, but it didn't seem that suspicious. As far as I know, they've always been just friends. and then I see that get deleted in real time. So I get really hung up on it, missing other threads being deleted that I didn't get a chance to read. Because I was drunk, I text her about these plans. She first says she only wants to see her friend. I told her that's a lie. Then she says they didn't really make plans. I told her I saw the messages. She keeps denying it, never saying that it's just a friend or something. Then she switches to, "How dare you doubt me?" again, and, "I'm so stressed at work. I'm sorry I'm not enough. I can't be everything to everyone." I tell her if I misunderstood something, that she can come upstairs and we can clear it up. She comes, but again, doesn't clear or admit anything, and the convo is all about how she isn't enough. She was crying uncontrollably, and I felt bad, so I went to sleep next to her. Because both of our weeks were quite busy, we don't talk about this again, but we make plans to do so when she comes back. Last couple of days before she left, we went on dates and had amazing sex. In the message thread with Kay, I could see some slightly flirty messages from both sides about her sleeping on his shoulder on the plane. No way they got adjacent seats due to how the check-in works, so they had to purposely move. Although, since all coworkers spent a lot of time together in person, it makes sense that there's not a lot more in that thread. Yesterday, she got to the hotel. I know because of Find My iPhone. So I waited for her to write me or call me. I waited for half an hour, and I wrote to her asking if she was still out because I'm going to be. She calls me saying she just got to her room. Her neck, all the way down to between her breasts, is red. I can see due to what she's wearing. Like when we're making out and my beard is short and it rubs on her skin. I ask her about it. She acts surprised like she didn't know and tells me it was probably her scarf. But this is clearly on one side only and goes down further than a scarf would. I didn't want to press further because I can't let her know I'm onto her too much. I still need hard evidence. We proceeded to talk for an hour, but she was a bit fussy, not like the other days when she gets to the room and immediately starts getting ready for bed. She has pretty much the same routine, always. I felt like she was delaying getting ready for bed, except for putting on pajamas. So I keep stalling, trying to see if Kay is going to write her, or vice versa. And then I ask her about the sauna. She says she barely went in because it was packed. Then I ask her other details, and they don't seem to line up. I had been awake for 36 plus hours at this point, so I was recording the convo to make sense of it later. We ended the call. I finally went to sleep. Sleeping never felt so good. Woke up this morning. No messages from Kay or my wife to each other. She FaceTimes me a couple of hours later. Besides a quick check-in, she says, "I'll write you whenever I can. If I don't, it's because there's a lot happening and it's hard balancing being here and being there. It's not because I'm doing something else that you might be thinking." If you made it till here, thank you. Thank you, thank you. My head has been spinning around these last couple of days. There's so much I'm not sure of, but divorce has been on my mind constantly. We had plans to buy a house and have a baby next year. Even if nothing happened, she betrayed my trust by telling me she was going to sleep and then inviting Kay to her room. Even if that hadn't happened, she betrayed my trust by maintaining a closer relationship with Kay after I said I wasn't comfortable with that. She's risking her career. I'm sure her coworkers would be suspicious by now, and her relationship. And I can't really live the rest of my life looking at every single thing as a possible sign of cheating. She had 2 symmetrical spot bruises on her thighs that I only noticed a couple of days after she went out with her coworkers that she couldn't explain, and I sure as hell didn't cause them. Or feeling forced to snoop. But at the same time, I feel like this is all too weak as evidence for a divorce. Our accounts are separated, logistic reasons, too long to explain, so it's not that simple. The car is in her name. I can't just threaten a divorce, or discuss it with her because I'm afraid she'll move the money and I'll have to start from scratch. And ultimately, I'm heartbroken because, damn, I love her so much. She is the love of my life, my soulmate, but I also feel like the person I love isn't there anymore, and all it took was a couple of days. I don't really know what to do next. What if I'm wrong? Edit. She's now being very flirtatious with me over text. She hasn't been like this in weeks. Edit 2. Forgot to mention she's been working from home since she joined the company in January, so she's only met her coworkers maybe a dozen times in person. Edit 3. There's no new apps purchased on the App Store that I can see, but something occurred to me. They both use Slack for work, which is much more convenient and hideable than starting to use a separate app. Edit 4. She called me again. She's back at the first location, staying at the hotel. Worked from the office all day. One of the first things she told me was her arm was bruised, and she might have bruised it at the other location, but she doesn't really know how. I couldn't see it on camera because it was too dark. She then said, "I'm all bruised up. Well, not all bruised up, just the bruise." Weird. Update. I found the smoking gun. While I was preparing to wrap up on her laptop, my wife sends a message to Kay. It starts with just work stuff, but somehow it sounded flirty, and it could be deniable at the same time. I wait. I knew it was not going to remain just work because we had a call minutes prior and said goodnight, and this was all too convenient. And then she initiates it.
Where's your book?
Is it there?
Maybe.
You can deliver it in my room.
Bad idea.
I said you can. I didn't know how good the idea was. The book is here already.
Glad you've got it already.
Unless you want to give it another look.
Although, I think your gum is here still. I only have mine, and I need to read it first.
Yeah, it is. Maybe I need some gum now.
Only if you're going to sleep and not cause any trouble.
I'm going to sleep for sure.
Go get your gum.
Open the door. I'm freaking devastated. I know y'all warned me, but man, I didn't even have to wait. New update. Got a lawyer. He instructed me on what to say. She wrote me this morning. I had to delay my replies a bit as I was preparing my message. I think she sensed something was wrong given my non-replying. I could still be asleep at that time though, because she changed her Instagram password and removed the WhatsApp link. I've sent her a message and email saying everything should be taken up with my lawyers. I've gone no contact. Kay tried to call me. I've blocked him. She's calling my friend saying she doesn't know what prompted this, and a couple of her friends have asked me for more info. My lawyer advised not to tell her the details, or anyone else until she goes to talk to him. She's seeking compassion from everyone and pretending she's clueless. Edit 6. She's mentioning in every single email she won't be here tomorrow and this will kill her. She will die if I don't let her in tonight. Obviously, that's the last thing I can do, but I'm concerned about her thoughts. Edit 7. She's mentioned in another email,
I haven't betrayed you, but I have been unfair and dishonest.
Trickle truth? Also, this makes it a bit clearer that someone might have seen Kay go into her room. She might think that's all I know. Edit 8. I just had the hardest hour of my life. She supposedly had no battery on her phone, was emailing me with her percentage at every point, with slight suicide remarks. Had to call the cops to check in on her. Got to communicate with her friend. She booked her a hotel and Uber. She's always saying that she'll only talk face to face. Last thing she said was she'll tell the truth to her family so I don't have to. But I still don't know what it is. Edit 9. She made it to the hotel. She's now saying that everything I want or need to know is in the Notes app in her computer. I'm seriously considering if this is not all part of the game. But seriously, what the F? New update, October 31st. She finally sent me an email with her version of facts. Let me preface this by saying that her friend called her and asked if there had been any messages with Kay, because I seemed too sure, and my wife said no. Now, for the fun facts, and this is why you don't say what you know. There was one other instance with a guy Friday night where they danced, hugged, got really close, and he wanted to kiss her. But she says she said no, that she couldn't, and that she was married. Kay prefaced this by saying no kissing or sex happened. Says she didn't look at Kay in this light previously, including the night when we all went out. Admits to having fallen asleep on his shoulder, not only on the plane, but also on the bus. I know she didn't initially sit with him, so she sought him out. However, she says,
We chose to sit next to each other on the bus.
Essentially shifting the blame to both and not just her. It's to having him come to her room 3. But she says didn't hear him, and her roommate let him in. And then she woke up, felt him hug her. She told him to stop. Her roommate turned on the lights and asked him to leave. She's at the very least lying about the sequence of events and who initiated the contact. She admitted about Kay coming to her room asking for his book. He asked his colleagues if anyone had space for his book earlier in the day, and she said yes. She says he went there after she messaged him saying she had his book, which we know is a lie. The book was with him, or perhaps this is yet another night. But she absolutely did not message him about the book at any other point. He lingered at the door. They hugged for way too long, and she'd pull away, and he'd pull her back in, and she gave in to it. Apart from the hugging, nothing else happened. She admitted yet another night where he stayed longer. I'm assuming the night she texted him about the book and gum, given the sequence of events. He came and sat on the bed this time. They talked. Hugged again. Nothing happened after that. She knew he wanted something to happen, and maybe she did too. He left after half an hour. He kissed her neck once when they hugged, but it's not the red mark because it was a different time and left no marks, and the red mark was truly from her scarf. She used his phone to call me, and he knows what's happening. She says these are the lines she's crossed in our entire relationship. She sees a pattern forming, that it is due to stress, and she needs to get help to learn to handle the stress. She hurt herself emotionally to handle the stress. She says she deleted messages she sent to him to avoid raising suspicions, and that the only inappropriate one was him saying, "Open the door," after she sent him a message asking where his book was, insinuating that she wanted him to come over. She changed her Instagram password because she was afraid of the other guy she met on Friday would message her something she couldn't easily explain. She says she didn't kiss or screw or anything similar to anyone at any point, but she engaged in flirting and it went too far. She says she needs help and compassion. She can't afford a hotel for a week. I know damn well she can afford a hotel for months. She says I might not believe she deserves it, but that she needs it right now. I don't know what to do, y'all. Edit 10. Y'all, I knew last night hadn't been the hardest it would get. She sent me a screen cap of the combo she had with Kay. Wife.
He says he has proof we were sleeping together, which doesn't exist because we're not, so I don't know what the F happened.
Whatever proof he might have on you, it's not the truth. Honestly don't know who I did he got that proof, but as we know, that never happened.
I don't think the truth matters anymore, but I do think someone gave him a reason to suspect something.
Of course the truth matters. What proof would he have if nothing happened?
No idea. Something that gave him the idea that something happened. I told him everything that did happen, but he doesn't believe me. I'm sorry you're involved in this. Just wanted to give you a heads up in case it comes your way.
F. But nothing happened. I don't know how he would not believe you. I'm sorry that you're passing through this. She thinks I told her friend I had proof they screwed. And of course, how could anyone prove that unless he told someone or someone eavesdropped? And she's made it clear that she makes a clear separation between screwing and kissing and everything else she did. Like screwing and kissing would warrant all of this, but not really her dishonesty. I love how both are talking about how nothing happened. Like, really? Anyway, it got bad. She sent me a video saying her name and her ID, and that she was transferring ownership of the car to me. I could see some stuff in the background, but nothing that allowed me to identify where she was. I couldn't think. I've seen way too much TV to know people do this when they're actually preparing for suicide. So I called her. We talked for an hour. It's all recorded so I can refer to it later. My goal was to keep her on for as long as possible, understand where her mental state is right now, possibly get to know her location, and de-escalate things to a better state that gives her a clearer perspective. She hung up multiple times, saying goodbye, mentioned that she didn't screw him multiple times, and she didn't screw anyone or kiss anyone since we've been together. Things didn't seem to be improving, and I had serious concerns about her well-being without being able to tell where she was. So I had to find a compromise to de-escalate things. I've asked her if she could give us both a week so that we could calm down and then talk again, face to face. She said her heart couldn't take it. She couldn't take it. We went round and round for a bit more. Her tone changed eventually, became aggressive, when she once again said that her friend told her I had proof of her screwing, and why would I need a week when she had already told me everything in the email. At the end of the call, I think I've managed to tone things down, but now I'm left with the issue of what happens when we meet face to face. I know I don't want to reconcile. I know meeting face to face is unlikely to change things given how little she cared about me this whole time and kept blaming it on her stress. I think I might arrange for a mediated meeting, not with my lawyer because he's made clear that's not his role, but with a therapist maybe? However long that session might be. I'm not sure if that's possible, and that's where we will go through the facts. Also, not sure if a therapist can do that given that her role is to heal, etc. But someone else will need to be there, even if it's her friend, so that she feels more secured versus a friend of mine. If that's how we do it, I will record everything. I need to find something better than the iPhone though. I just can't let a week pass to tell her again that we won't talk face to face. That's just going to get her off the rails again. I'm hoping that she'll have time to gather her thoughts and come through completely. But at the same time, I don't think she'll admit to anything that can't be proved, at which point I might ask her to take a polygraph. Edit 11. My friend told me their interaction of only if you're going to sleep and not cause any trouble kinda means that he had been trouble before. However, according to her recount, the night before when he actually went for the book, he only stayed for 5 minutes and they only hugged. Also, her description of the night when she sent that message is that he went there, sat on the bed, they talked for half an hour, and he went away. These two things cannot exist in the same truth. Not a chance. Yes, I do know that this is beyond needing the full truth on my side, but I fear that if I don't, she won't snap out of the illusion that what she did is so bad and that cannot be forgiven because I'm her whole life. Edit 12. Called V. She admitted someone knocked at the door. I asked why did she let them in. She says she didn't let them in. I asked if that person didn't go in the room, and she eventually said yes, but that she didn't let them in. Eventually, the person went in and out. I asked how long did they stay. She started accusing me of disturbing her in her vacation. I couldn't get too far beyond realizing she's covering for my wife, and someone did go in. At one point, she said that she's not responsible for what they did in the room, and then she said nothing happened. She eventually tried to excuse herself, saying that she didn't understand my English word, and that this was about a room break-in. Edit 13. Asked wife about a detailed recount of the events if she cares about me trusting her. She sends me something even less detailed than the initial email, with just the same broad details. 5 minutes, 30 minutes, V opens the door, book stuff, etc. Eventually she called, admitted to flirting with K at one of the first work events she went to, a month or so ago. She admitted to flirting with K when we all went out. This was after I confronted her with all the facts. That there's no way she would just invite this guy to her room with no other thoughts or intentions unless she had something prior going on. She keeps insisting on room 3, but can't explain why V let K in. She now admits that she was also with him during sauna time and that she previously lied about that too. I'm starting to think that I'm in the presence of something pathological. This is not normal. She told me these things with a straight face and could not apologize for lying yet again, nor showed any remorse. I can't be someone else's psychologist, but if she does indeed have some sort of disorder that triggered this, she needs help. Her support network is very small here and was damaged with all of this. I might need to move out and let her in our apartment so she has a place to stay, while she seeks professional help. I don't think she'll make it, mentally and emotionally otherwise. She's agreed to a polygraph. If she does have some disorder, I've read that it won't produce good results. She's also suggested to go up to a hospital to do a test to check if she had intercourse. Also said, have them check if there's any semen in my underwear, which was an odd way to put it. I think my only option to actually know the truth and make her come to her senses is meeting with her face to face with her friend present. Ask her to see her phone if she wants our trust to rebuild. Send a text to Kay pretending to be her, saying that she's with me and that I'm saying I will denounce him to the company for sexual assault due to that first night, and she doesn't know what to do, and wait. This doesn't feel right though. It doesn't feel like me at all. I'm truly convinced I will not be able to continue this relationship, but she's a human being I've cared for a lot in the past, who might need help, and I feel like my hands are tied. We can't get back together, yet she doesn't have anyone else here who can help her. The only option is for her to go back home. Moving on to a new post on r/Kentucky Rice. Wife might have cheated. Is this enough evidence? November 4th update below. Hey everyone, I tried posting this from my other account because I was on my phone and I really needed to share this with y'all. Also, I know many of you are concerned and I've been radio silent, but it got filtered out by bots. Sorry for taking so long to update y'all. Since my last update, we've been going back and forth. I tried pressing for more details. She kept denying, crying, saying that she's sorry, that she cheated, she lied, she was a piece of crap. She would do everything for us to be together again. She would beg. I went down 2 holes in my belt this last week. I guess I'll finally have a 6-pack. So I decided Monday was going to be self-care day. I went for lunch to a small village next to where I was staying, with no plans, and I was drawn to the scent of wood oven cooked bread and food, and I went in and sat down. Only 2 tables inside. The other one had 3 old ladies, taking their time eating and talking. A neighbor came by. They chatted. It made me smile for the first time in a bit. Reminded me of how simple things can be. Then I went for a massage. Possibly the most transformational massage I've ever had. The knot in my stomach was gone. My mind was a bit clearer. Then I went back to the hotel because she had sent me an email with detailed timelines earlier that day, and I hadn't read it yet. I sat down at the bar, get myself a virgin pina colada. No alcohol since this all started. I need my mind clear. I read the email. It detailed so many aspects and checkpoints of her day, including who she took an Uber with, when she went to the bathroom, stuff like that. But the details on what mattered were the same. And somehow she didn't seem to remember at which points she called me, or when she told me she was going to sleep. All of this is easily confirmed. This is where it became excruciatingly clear. There's no coming back from this. I still tried, y'all. I sent her an email with all 3 versions of increasing admission of initiation responsibility. Nothing else. And she brushed it off as,
"These are the things I remember, and I just remember other details."
I asked to meet her the next day, Tuesday, and her best friend should be there, both for support and as a witness. No contact was hard. We kept talking. I kept asking why V would open the door for someone if there had been no talk, no signs, nothing. Asked if they hadn't talked in the morning. She told me V said K said she called me. She then told me V was hitting on him, sat on his lap at the sauna, and V might have thought it was for her. I eventually did something which I consider to have gone a little too far. I was having anti-harassment training at work, and it was so appropriate it seemed like the universe was laughing at me, or sending me a sign. I told her if K had actually gone into her bed uninvited and V opened the door for him, this was a case for sexual harassment and assault, and would have to be investigated. She backed off a bit with the begging and the apologies. Later, my wife sent me a screen cap of a message she sent V saying,
"I'm sorry to do this, but I need your answer about something."
V said she was unreachable at the moment. Then moments later, my wife sends me another screen cap where V says, "I was shocked by your husband's call, and you involving me into something I have no relation to at all. Please stop it." I genuinely cried when I saw this. I think she sent me this because she was preparing a "how dare you" before it all sank in. I told her that yes, I talked to V and that's why I asked her to keep V out of this. My wife said she'd keep her out of it and wouldn't ask her anything else. I knew meeting my wife in person was going to be hard, but I had to tell her how she made me feel, in person, and I wanted to give her one last chance to say something. Anything. I wrote a text because I knew I couldn't go by memory, and if I went by heart, I would be too hard on her. So I zoomed out, told her what I went through, the damage it caused, the pain that lingers, the scars it will leave. She left. Her friend stayed. Her friend asked me if she had lied like this before. I thought she was going for the "this is out of character" approach, but no. She tells me she knows how good of a liar she is. She gave me a possible explanation of where it stems from. She believes in self-development, and so do I. I told her about my ex. I told her about why I can't possibly ever go back to it. She told me my wife lied and told her 2 different versions about what happened, and it made me cry. I'm glad she's here for her. Later that night, my wife sent me another series of texts which implied her self-deleting, asking me to send stuff to her parents, to send her my bank account info so she can send me everything. Then, later, she told me she'd talk to my lawyers today. I told her I couldn't deal with all she wrote, and I would read it today. Today, she told me it was okay, that I should focus on work. Then asked me how work is going, if I want to share. She sent me an email recounting our history and every place she failed me by not seeing enough. I had to fight hard to hold back tears at the coffee shop. She invited me to a shared iCloud album titled Love. Haven't accepted. I now understand why no contact is important. I'll have to endure this. I won't be swayed. I read the text between her and Kay often because I have a tendency to forget and let go, and I need to remind myself that this happened, that it was real, and I know what she's going through now is legit. So is what I went and am going through. Y'all will say this isn't healthy, but it's how I know how to deal with it right now. Thank you for staying with me this whole time. I couldn't have done this without you all. There will be days when I doubt my decision, and I'll come back to this crazy soap opera and your words of advice, encouragement, and support. This post is probably longer than it should be, but I really needed to air this out. I can't talk in person to my best friend anymore. It's painful, and he's been so kind, and I don't want him to grow tired of hearing about everything in such detail. It was tiring myself. There's so many of you to thank, so I'm sorry if I'm leaving people out. A special thank you to, in no particular order, a bunch of Reddit names I'm not going to go into. You'll have to look at the screen to figure them out. I will update once again once we finally sign the papers. November 4th update. Hey everyone. I know I said I didn't care about the truth, but the fact is these things randomly pop in my head when I least expect, and I go down the rabbit hole. I need them to remind me that all of this was real, and she can't sway me into thinking this wasn't premeditated and it was work stress, etc. This time the rabbit hole might have been the most productive one yet. Some of you might recall one of the convos from the original post between my wife and Kay, the convo about the book and the gum. I said there were 2 separate sentences. I could not stop thinking about it because they don't make grammatical sense given the context. I think it was one of the Reddit users who said sometimes in these coded convos there will be things that don't make sense. Here's that user's breakdown.
"Where's your book?"
Equals,
"You should come to my room. Last time you came to my room, you used the excuse of giving me a book."
you can deliver it in my room equals, you can come to my room tonight
Bad idea.
equals,
Bad idea. Someone might see me. Although I think your gum is here still.
equals,
Maybe you should come to my room.
maybe I need some gum now equals, maybe I should
Only if you're going to sleep and not cause any trouble.
equals,
We will have sex again.
I'm going to sleep for sure equals, I'll be tired after that
Go get your gum.
equals,
You should definitely come around.
open the door equals, unlock the door so I can come straight in. The Reddit user and his girlfriend translated it as above. Now here's the thing. She told me he went there the night before this combo, but that she had his book in her backpack because it didn't fit on his. And he went there to get the book, and he was only there for 5 minutes. She also said she doesn't remember when she told me she was going to sleep, but in a separate convo, she says she only told me she had arrived at the hotel 15 minutes after she actually did. Now, I know that I wrote to her asking if she was still out 15 minutes after she arrived at the hotel, but she only called me 5 minutes later. I thought the book is here already and glad you've got it already exchange was weird, because if he did go there the previous night to get his book back, the already doesn't make sense. So here's what I'm very much convinced happened. He lost the book. There was no book legitimately. That's the excuse he used the night before this convo. That's why the following night she asks,
Where's your book?
The is it there and maybe are obviously teasing. So this is in line with him getting out of her room after she says,
My husband wrote me. I need to call him.
and then someone catching him because they went up to the room as soon as they got to the hotel so they wouldn't be seen, and the other coworkers took longer. And that's the excuse he used. He was looking for his book, not I went to get a book, because he's coming out empty-handed. So then the following day of the convo above, he says, the book is here already, as in he found it already. Her reply now makes sense too, from that perspective,
Glad you've got it already.
as in glad you found it already. Everything in this message is way more literal than we initially thought, and as such, gum is not an excuse. It's actually gum he left there the night before. Hence, here still. This explains two things. The red marks on her neck, all the way down to in between her breasts, and the fact that there were no messages from the previous night whatsoever. Our first response comes from Cranach. This is all just really sad. So many lies and lies by omission that is unbelievable. But at the same time, I think that you are already doing a lot right. You allowed yourself to have some good experiences on your own, like the massage or the lunch, which was great. Keep on doing that. Stay strong for yourself and keep moving on. No one deserves what happened to you, but I think that you handled it as best you could and possible. If you ever need someone to talk, to vent, or someone who just listens, then feel free to reach out. You are worth so much more than to be treated this way. Wild Grapefruit has another thought. I noticed in your update above, since my last update we kept going back and forth. I tried pressing for more details. She kept denying, crying, saying that she's sorry, that she cheated, she lied, she was a piece of crap, she would do everything for us to be together again, she would beg. So does this mean that she finally admitted that she cheated? Did you mention that word to her and then she started using it? I remember you didn't want to use that word because you wanted her to come to that realization herself. When she told you that she cheated, did she mean PIV sex? Or do you think she realized that regardless of PIV sex, what she did was cheating? Your soon-to-be ex-wife seems so cagey that she probably wanted to use the word vaguely so that you could interpret the word any way you saw fit. But in doing so, this would allow her to not acknowledge to herself that she cheated on you. I see this as mental gymnastics to allow herself to believe she is still a good person. The mental gymnastics here will allow her to believe the following, thus setting the stage for her view of what happened. First, that she didn't cheat. Second, you interpreted everything incorrectly. Third, you would not listen to her as to what really happened. It was all just miscommunications. She will probably forget about how she admitted that she at least disrespected you in the life we built. But who knows? That might be part of her story. Taking part of the blame will make her look more human to everyone and more believable. Sadly, this will allow her to go forward with her life and give herself an excuse to not work on her character flaws. She probably sees her flaws as getting caught, not that she cheated in the first place. I'm glad that you finally got to say your piece at the end. You read from the text you wrote. At least you tried to tell her about how this has really messed you up and given you emotional wounds that may heal, but the scars will always remain. Again, I wish you all the best in this world. You truly deserve someone who treats you just as well as you treat them. Godspeed. The OP responds. She started using every single word I mentioned to her, as I mentioned them. This was intentional. First it was betrayal, then gaslighting, then manipulating, then trickle truth, then cheating. After denying those things, I waited until she came up with them on her own. But nope. She still claims no sex or kissing. I don't think she realized it was cheating, but more like using the same words I use so that it resembles remorse and admission of guilt. But right, re the mental gymnastics. Even though she told me she sucks, I don't think she actually means it. And yeah, she already took part of the blame and tried to make a plan forward for us being together, including individual therapy, couples therapy, sleeping in separate rooms, etc. I have no doubt she'll convince some people. I've always thought that her explosive reaction to all of this was in part because she was caught and in part because I told her we were separating in the way that I did. Yeah, it felt cathartic telling her in person. I cried to her friend after she left, asked her if I hadn't been too harsh. Ugh. Now, regarding the sex and kissing, she kept sending emails, retelling bits from our past, using inside jokes, telling me how work is, etc. I didn't reply. She did the same this morning, but I'm noticing they're getting shorter and less elaborate. Anyway, I told her if she ever wants to tell me the full truth, my emails are open. Until then, it's logistics only. She admitted to something new. That third night Kay went to her room, he stayed for longer than 30 minutes and they fell asleep at one point. She woke him up and asked him to leave. And now she has no truth left. Like she hadn't said that before. I caved and sent her a one-liner. F you. I'm not even sure if I regret it. In the meantime, I've pieced together the second night with all the info she gave me, everything I know, and the gaps I've filled. I'm updating in the post here. Next reaction from Terser78. I'd say this is past the point of needing a divorce. Yes, she is clearly acting shady if she is deleting text messages. She has a job that takes her long distance for long periods of time, and now you feel the need to constantly track her messaging history? That's enough to say this won't work. I'd start planning your separation because this just isn't a way to live a healthy life. It's consuming you too much and creating too much dread. No one can say for sure how far inappropriately she has gone, but there's enough circumstantial evidence to make you doubt her true intentions. Shady people do shady things. Deleting text messages is a shady thing. As you said, she betrayed your trust by pushing this relationship with Kay after you made your intentions clear. That is enough to divorce and to know she isn't your forever person. The relationship will only get worse from here. New Ellie has our last thought. Having suffered from this myself and reading this sub for a while, it's incredible how similar a lot of the stories are. In my experienced opinion, she is having an affair, I'm afraid. I think you already know that. Always trust your gut. Don't make any rash decisions, get your finances in order, and instruct a lawyer. Best of luck.